Are you someone who finds yourself good at a lot of things, good at almost anything that someone asks you to do, which has turned you into a chameleon? Now, there are good things about being a chameleon, and then there are things that get in the way of our success. Listen in. Welcome back to the Hello You Show. My name is Jessica Rice, and I am your host. Well, we are back. We had a wonderful summer. We took a little bit of a break, and now we're ready to dive into this chapter of the Hello You Show. As some of you may know, we started the Hello You Show 2 years ago. Actually, it was at the end of August, September timeframe. And we had a vision to help others to rise up and lead a life of purpose and of calling. And in this time, we have interviewed so many wonderful guests. We have 80 episodes at this point. And honestly, I never imagined what it would be like to run a podcast for 2 years. It was something that just kind of was this passion project, and it continued to grow. But here we are, and I want to talk to you about something that has really been on my heart so much more lately than I think ever before, because we've seen so many changes. There's so much turmoil and upheaval that's happening within our world, within our industries. And I think it's really important that we get very clear on what it is that we truly want for our lives. And so if you are the type of person who finds yourself good, not only at a lot of things, but at the things that are asked of you, say in your job or your career, oftentimes, and I've even given this advice, what are the things that people are coming to you for? What are they asking advice for or of from you? And that can be a trigger. It can be a signal in terms of what is the direction that I should be going, or what is my zone of genius? However, it can also be this chaotic thing that starts to take place because we don't actually know who we are. And what I mean by is when you're in corporate, I feel like, we've been groomed to rise up and do whatever we're asked. And we do it in the name of expectations, being told to do these things. And so we do. And we get good at it. And this can be deceiving because we're good at it. And if we weren't good at it, then we would just chalk it up to something else. But because we are, we start to wonder, is this the direction that I should be going? Is this the thing that I should be doing to help someone else, or to have a business, or to start an advisory around? And while that could be true, maybe you are really good at this, then we start to lose sight of some of our dreams, our greater ambitions, our true calling. And that's because we start building into this pleasing life cycle, this constant need to prove ourselves, and we become the chameleon. And let's really address why some of this can be so damaging when we're trying to embark on a new business, a new passion, our greater purpose that we have in this life. When we start to give away ourselves, and we start to outsource our message, and we start to outsource our value, we can ourselves start to become dry. We start to have no personality. We start to lose who we are fundamentally. It's almost like it makes me think of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, when the father is talking about the husband's family and describing them as so dry. They're like a piece of toast. And that's not what we want to become. That's not what we want to become in our businesses. We want to have clarity because we have passion, conviction, and purpose. And so when we start out, there's a really key question that we need to ask. And it's one that we often don't do. And the question is, who do I want to become? Who do I want to become for myself, for my life, for this next chapter that I'm moving into, for the things that I'm building and creating. To recalibrate our life, to recalibrate our message, we have to go back to our core. We have to go back to the fundamentals. We have to consider who we are in this process. When I'm working with a lot of leaders who are wanting to find out what that next chapter is, what does it look like for me? Do I want to become an advisor, a fractional executive? Do I want to become a board member? Oftentimes, they're asking about strategies, tactics, ways that they can embark on this journey. But they're not asking who they want to become. What do they want their life to look like? And I'm not talking about lifestyle or income. Those are always the things that come up. Well, I've got a certain income and I have to maintain it. This can be true, but you have to first begin with what your purpose is, what it is that you're wanting to do. Why does this matter to you so much? Because the salary, the lifestyle, those things will never be enough to help you stay consistent. Those are not going to be the things that give you the grit and the perseverance necessary to move into that next chapter, let alone have the self-awareness. So oftentimes when we're asking ourselves, how do I achieve this? How do I get to this next level? What do I want my life to look like? Or what do I want to be making? We're not asking what is required of me to get there. And so in this question of what do I want to become is twofold. It's what is required of me to get there, and how do I need to grow? What ways do I need to grow? And we have to start getting really honest and really deep about what it is that we want. Where is the gap? What are the pieces that are missing from this scenario or this equation? What do I need to start focusing on to allow for myself to get there? And because we ask these questions in the wrong order, time and time again, we get stuck. We don't know how to move forward because we ourselves are confused. We have taken ourselves out of the scenario. We've taken our dreams, our purpose, our passions, and we've put them to the side. We forgot who we are, our multidimensional, multifaceted, multi-talented selves, and all that we bring to the table, and we're simply focusing on an outcome. But an outcome is just an outcome. There has to be a reason for the outcome. There has to be a why. That's the thing that gets you up in the morning every day, inspired and ready to take action and to move. Because if you fall, which happens time and time and time again, what will be the thing that helps you to get back up? Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, why would I want to change? I'm actually fine the way that I am. I'm happy. I feel like I've grown so much in my role, in my career, and I'm ready to move to this next chapter. We're not saying that you aren't. I'm not saying that you're not ready. But what I am saying is that there's always going to be room for growth. And the time that we start thinking that there's nothing more that we need to be doing, there's nothing more that we need to be focusing on, I'm good, is the moment that we stop allowing ourselves to get to that next level. We stunt ourselves. We're putting the brick on those dreams. But when we can look honestly at ourselves and answer some of the tough questions, then we have room, we have the growth mindset, we have all of the things needed to start taking action. You don't get there without change. You have to grow to receive. And I knew this when I left corporate and then I started to embark on my business in a bigger way. But to be honest, I didn't even fully comprehend it then. I thought I was growing so much, but there's always something else that we're learning, that we're accomplishing, that we're evolving into. So you have to be willing to grow in order to receive, in order to be ready for this next place that you're heading. When I'm talking to a lot of tech leaders, people who are in finance, people who have the credentials, the accolades to back up everything that they're wanting. And they're constantly asking about a strategy or a tip or what are the next things that I need to be doing. But we can't be strategizing against the wrong things. See, if we're moving in one direction, but our soul, our purpose, all these things inside of us that we try to push down sometimes are calling to us in another way, then we're strategizing and solving problems and creating solutions for things that are not getting us to where we're actually wanting to be. And so it's a matter of, first, where am I wanting to head? How do I start to make this happen for myself? How do I start to align these pieces of myself? It's not abandoning one or the other. This is not an and or an or. It's an and an and. There's always solutions, but you have to first know what you want. You have to know deeply. You have to have conviction around it. You have to be willing to say out loud, this is me. This is what I want. This is what I'm hoping for. And it's not all about status. Maybe you have bigger dreams to make an impact in a way that you can't even possibly comprehend. Maybe it's bigger than you even allow for yourself to think at times, because we get scared, because we're afraid. And we're afraid of our own power. We're afraid of a drawing attraction to ourselves. And so we stay small. But you have to be willing to grow in order to reach those bigger levels. And oftentimes when I'm working with leaders who are saying that they're wanting to go into some of these arenas, these areas, is because they're a little bit afraid. They're a little bit afraid of saying the bigger thing, that bigger calling. So advisory, consultancies, there is nothing wrong with those. But sometimes we have to ask, are we playing the safe route because it's what we want? Or are we doing it because it feels like the next natural step? Are we doing it because it feels safe, because it feels good enough, and it doesn't require us to step out in faith in a greater way, in a way that potentially is risky? You have to be willing to be honest with yourself. You have to be willing to face yourself. What have you been shying away from? You have to face your own sense of reality to a certain extent. Self-awareness equals growth, which equals change. And here's why all of this matters. Love. It's all about love. You have to be in love with what it is that you're creating. You have to wake up and be excited, passionate. I'm not saying that every day is going to be one of those days where you are on fire, but what I am saying is that you have to be so in love with what it is that you're creating, what it is that you're doing, this newfound dream, this purpose that's pushing you forward, so that when you do fall, when you do have days where you're questioning things, where it feels bigger than you, harder than you, that you still realize that it matters, it's important. See, when we're in corporate and we use those excuses to say, I have to do this, we can do so many scary things that ordinarily we would never do because our job requires it of us, it demands it of us. But when I go talk to those same people who then tell me, well, I could never go do this, or I can never do this, I'm afraid of this. They'll do it for their job, but they won't do it for themselves. And I ask you, what is more important? The opinions of your boss, your colleagues, your company, or the opinions of yourself? How you look at your life, your values, your integrity, what you stand for, and what you're creating in your life for your legacy. See, we'll do whatever it takes in our jobs because it helps us to be successful. It helps us to feel accomplished. It helps us to feel as though we're safe and we're doing all of the things, but really, we're just surviving. But we won't do those same things for a greater calling, something deeper, more important. Simply because, number one, we doubt ourselves. We doubt if we're capable. We doubt if what we have to say or what it is that we want to do will bring meaning or be valuable enough in the eyes of someone else. Maybe it even feels so foreign to what it is that we're doing now that we don't even know how to bridge that gap. So we shut it down quickly. We find the first excuse. Well, I could never go live. Well, I don't know how to write really well. Well, I don't know how to create a website. I mean, these are all these excuses that we start to come up with when it comes to either launching a business, moving into that next title or that next role, or whatever it looks like for you, whatever you feel passionate about. But they're all excuses because if it was required of you in your corporate role, I am assuming that you would figure it out and that you probably already have in so many ways. If you're a leader, you've already done it in so many ways, learned things, done things that you didn't know before, and you had to figure it out in order to keep your job. So why do we put ourselves on the back burner? Why do we continually look at our own lives as optional? Our choices as not as important. Our dreams, our visions, our legacy. And it's because we are continually outsourcing our value to the wrong people. Let me say that again. You are outsourcing your value to other people to approve of you when your value, it comes from within. It comes from you being you. And that's because we've been conditioned to do this our whole lives, our whole childhood, our adult lives. We've been conditioned to look to others for approval, but we fail to look within ourselves and ask the question, am I proud? Am I proud? Am I doing the things that I know will bring meaning and fulfillment into my life? Am I doing everything that it takes? Am I acting? Am I behaving? Am I setting myself up for success? Or am I doing things to shy away, to hide, to create distractions? Because the hard work is the diligence. It is having the discipline to better ourselves continually. I was talking to my son in homeschool and we were talking about math and English, and right now he's taking Japanese class. And I was telling him everything that we're doing in our lives matters because it's not about right now. It's about tomorrow. It's about 5 years from now. It's about 10 years from now, how you're setting yourself up for success, but it's not for today. And fundamentally, we all know this. If we went to college, we knew this because we graduated with the idea that we were going to go and get a job, and that job was going to lend itself to success, and then we were going to make a lot of money, and all of our problems were going to be solved. But do we act on it? Is that how we actually show up for ourselves each and every day? Are we honoring ourselves? So when you're thinking that you want more strategies, you want more tips, you want more insights on how to accomplish this, you don't need more strategies, because the challenge that you're facing, if you answered that the opinions of others matter more than the opinions of yourself, then we don't have a strategy problem. We have a you problem. We have a values problem. We're missing you from the equation. And until you find yourself and put yourself right back into the center with everything that you feel like, this is what I want, this is what resonates, this is what I'm excited about, this is what I feel called to do, this is why I was created. If we're not talking at these levels, then we're moving ourselves out of the equation and we're hoping that someone else will see it in us for us. And we're missing the entire boat. which is why so many of us are struggling when we're considering, how do I start a business? How do I branch out on my own? Why are things not going in the way that I want them to? Because we've stripped ourselves away. We created the Hello You show so that you could come home to yourself, so that you could revisit who you are. Who's that person that you were when you were a child? What did you dream about? That individual in high school or college? What about when you came out of college and landed your first job or your title? What were your dreams? And what would you tell yourself? What would your younger self tell you today? Would they be proud? Would they be excited about all of the progress and achievements that you've made? Would they be excited about the way that you're living your life daily? And if you fast forward 5 years, 10 years from now, what will your future self, what would they say to you right now? What would they tell you? I was looking at a post with one of my mentors, my neuroscience coach, and he does these amazing challenges, the confidence challenge. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out with James Garrett, Brain by Design, the confidence challenge. I highly recommend it. And he talks about, what's the number one regret? Well, the number one regret that most people have is that they didn't live the life that they wanted to, that they felt was truly out there calling to them, because they were scared and they played it safe. What is truly calling to you? Because when you start to understand that, when you start to know that, the rest of the pieces can start to come in line. The strategies, the how do you make that happen? And it's a process of growth. It's a process of patience. It's a process of understanding how to maneuver in ways that you probably never have in your whole life. But you're not playing it safe. You're not being small. And you're not outsourcing your values, your integrity for other people, hoping that they'll see it in you. See, no one's going to see more in us than ourselves. And I would say than God. So when I'm taking those steps forward, I'm now understanding, and it took me even a while. It took me a while to figure out, I need to listen to me. I need to listen to God, what He is telling me. I need to listen to my intuition, because when we take ourselves out and we're listening to everything else and we're outsourcing ourselves, we are shoving down our intuition. And the worst culprit right now is we have outsourced our own intuition to AI. Now, I'm not against AI. I use AI every single day. It's a great help, but I don't use it for all of my decisions. You have to be the North Star in your life. And the rest are just resources. They're just ways for you to work and understand the world in which you are navigating. But if you're outsourcing your ideas and who you are and what you should be doing, then you're losing yourself. And how many of you have fallen victim to this? Because I know I have at one point too, right? You start to create something. Maybe you're writing an email and you think, oh, I need to polish it. I need to put it through ChatGPT. I need to make it better. Oh, what does Claude say? Claude sometimes is better at finesse and the way the language works. How many of you start to do this over and over and over again, where you don't even believe in the words that you're saying? We are living in this polished, perfect, pristine world, and we think that that's what people want more of. They want more polish. They want more pristine. But what they want is more of you. They want to know you. They want to know the real you. They want to know what you stand for. Because we can outsource our ideas. We can outsource our value. But when we take it back and we take back our power, now nothing can compete with that, because you are the differentiator from everything else. And there is so much noise out in the world right now. It is chatty. It is noisy on social media. It's noisy in the news. Everywhere you go, There are opinions. And I've noticed that so many of us are easily swayed in our belief systems because we lack the core foundation. We lack trusting within ourselves, the self-efficacy required to go out and do those things. And it's a decision away. It doesn't mean that you'll be successful tomorrow, but to take action, that's a decision away. So I want to remind you that you can listen to advice, but you don't have to take it. And so many of us don't know how to discern between advice that works for someone else and advice that's meant for us. So if you're hearing advice and you're not feeling it from your inner core, or worse, you just find yourself nodding along and just taking all of the various advice, and now you're getting pulled into 500 directions, that should be your wake-up call. That should be your signal that something isn't quite right. And it's time to come back to you. It's time to come revisit who you are, what you stand for. Which is why with all of the work that I do with my clients on legacy building and brand building, coaching, leadership, it always comes down to these fundamentals. Because before we can start anywhere, we have to know that we're going in the right direction. We may not hit it right on the head, but we got to know, are we going in the way that we are thinking? Or are we going in another direction? Are we going the opposite? Because that's not what we want. That won't be helpful. That's going to waste time. And if there's one thing that we don't have, is enough time. We never have enough time. So if you're finding yourself confused, if you're finding yourself resistant to maybe something, I want you to ask yourself, am I resistant because it doesn't feel aligned? Or am I resistant because I'm afraid? Again, so many of us are afraid of our own power. Number one, we've been taught to dampen our power, to dampen down, to play it safe. Women especially, right? We've been taught to be meek, to be mild, to be small so that we fit in. We don't garner too much attention. We are likable. We're pleasing. And when we want to step out and to do something powerful, it means an entire identity shift in the sense of who we've been pretending to be and allowing our inner lioness to come out. And sometimes that is scary because we know what that can look like. We know what she looks like. And we have to know how to tame her. And so if you're afraid of your power, then you need to figure out, how do you harness it? How do you harness it in a way for good? So many of us have various ways that we stomp it down instead of understanding, how do we leverage it? How do we use it? And if it doesn't resonate, if something's not resonating and it's not out of fear, then you have to ask if it's meant for you. Because not all advice, even if it worked for someone else and it might work for the person next to you, doesn't mean that it's right for you. So you have to be your own intuitive guide. You have to be the one to question. And it's not whether this is sound advice or not, or this person must know what they're talking about. They probably do, sometimes. But more often than not, it may not be right for you because the path you're on calls for something else. It calls for more of you. It calls for you to be different, which is why cookie cutter approaches, and if you just follow this and you just do this, they never work because they're not authentic. We all have a different way that we get to wherever we're going. All roads lead to Rome, right? Isn't that the saying? That's what I was told when I was in coaching. I didn't go through a traditional coaching school. I went my own path, what they call the portfolio path. And I remember talking to one of the instructors at Ericsson, one of the top instructors at that coaching school, which is based out of Canada. It's a top coaching school. And she told me, all roads lead to Rome. And at the time I thought, maybe she thinks that I'm doing this the wrong way. But later I understood that she also respected my decision to find my way, my path. And in that process, I was able to learn from some of the very best in coaching, because I didn't go to one school with one view or one form of thought. I cherry-picked the training that I wanted. And when you can start to cherry-pick things, now some advisors might be against this, right? Because if you're cherry-picking all these different things, but you have to see. Because once you become seasoned enough, once you start to become familiar enough with who you are and what it is that you want, and you start to understand how things begin to kind of work, you start to know what's a yes, a hell yes, or hell no. But remember, you have to ask yourself if it's out of fear or if it's because it's not in alignment. And sometimes we're not clear on that because we allow fear to take control. And you have to sometimes be willing to do uncomfortable things in the name of your cause, your purpose, because that might be the thing that moves you from playing safe and playing small to allowing yourself to shine, for allowing yourself and your power to come through. If you found value in today's message, I'd love for you to like and follow. It helps us to grow the channel. It helps me to know what content is resonating for you. And I'd love to hear from you. Please write and reach out. What are some questions that come up for you? What are concerns that you have in relation to stepping out in a greater way and following a deeper, more meaningful path than just the safe next step that many times we think, well, if I do this, this is still growth. So I'd love to hear from you. What pieces stood out? Please like, subscribe, and share if you know of anybody who might benefit from this message as well. Thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you for tuning in to the Hello You Show. It's been a pleasure to have you with us on this journey today. If you found value in our conversation and want to support the show, please take a moment to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd also deeply appreciate it if you could leave us a review. Your feedback not only helps us grow, but also enables others seeking inspiration and authenticity to discover our community. Until next time, keep embracing your story with purpose.